pictures, you can imagine why study of mechanics is necessary. Because the objects or products or anything which we deal, they undergoes this phase sometimes. Particularly, they lose their performance characteristics naturally or accidentally. That means we need to study the mechanics of material. Unless we know how this material will behave under these loading conditions, then we cannot assess their performance, we cannot assess their quality. That's the reason why we study mechanics. So how material carry load? Some of the fundamental diagram shown here, from where you can make out how the loading is carried out. For example, this is axial loading, tensile. This is also axial loading, compression. This is a shear force. The load is applied tangentially to the body. This is a flexural loading, that is a 3-point bending. And this is, you can see here, is a cantilever type. It's not actually bending, it's a buckling. So the load is applied from two sides, and when the material is unable to sustain the in-plane stress, when the material is unable to sustain the in-plane stress, then it bends. That's called buckling, and so on. First, we will discuss tensile. The word tensile means the material undergoes axial tension. Load is applied in the central or principal axis of the body. And tensile properties indicate how the material will react to forces being applied in tension. Normally, we will deal with in this stress and strain, although there are many parameters which I will now explain. So when we say stress, many people make it a mistake, define stress means force per unit area, which is a wrong definition. Force per unit area is called pressure, it's not stress. Stress is not applied, stress is generated. Then what is stress? Stress is internal forces that neighboring particles of a continuous material exert on each other. It is inside, it is internal, it is set up, it is not applied. It is set up inside the specimen, and its unit is Pascal, and Pascal is Newton per square meter. Then strain is deformation produced. When the material undergoes stress, then certain deformation is produced. So strain is the deformation per unit of original length, and we'll give its detailed formula later. What is the objective of carrying out tensile test? Tensile tests are used to determine the modulus of elasticity, elastic limit, elongation, proportional limit, tensile strength, yield point, yield strength, work of rupture, and many other useful tensile properties. All these properties are necessary for different end-use applications. That also we will come across when we will discuss this topic in detail. Also, I will define on a typical load elongation stress strain diagram how to find out these points on the test specimen. The most important output of a tensile test is load elongation characteristics curve. We will discuss this for fabric, how it looks like for a woven fabric, for a knitted fabric, for a non-woven fabric, for a braided structure. So as a textile people, we must know what is the characteristics load elongation curve for all our textile material. By this time, you must have realized the load elongation characteristics curve of different fibers. Let's say how it looks like for cotton fiber, wool fiber, polyester fiber, and so on. Similarly, you must have, if you have come across the yarn also, you can find out how it happens for a filament yarn, for a staple fiber, or for a spun yarn. This load elongation curve can always be converted to a stress strain diagram. You already know just from a basic definition in the previous slide what is stress and what is strain. So any load elongation curve can be converted to stress strain. The parameters which we get from load elongation curve are different from the parameters which we get from stress strain diagram. The stress strain curve relates the application of stress to how much strain is or resulting strain while stress is applied. Each material has its own unique stress strain curve. This is very interesting. How we define a material mechanically? We define a material mechanically just by its stress strain diagram. Remember, every material has its unique stress strain curve. Every material has its unique bending modulus. We call it stiffness. That means if we develop any structure, whether by weaving, knitting, nonwoven, or any fabric manufacturing technique, they can be characterized, they can be identified by their unique stress strain diagram. You must have come across this basic fundamental diagram of stress strain in your school. Very simple diagram. I'll show you many such complex stress strain diagram from where you will get many information. Here you can see the point A is a proportional limit, means up to this point up to point A, the stress is proportional to strain. Is a linear, completely linear up to A. That means at this point, if we start deloading, the curve again comes back to its original position in the same path. Then comes point B, it's called yield point. So material starts yielding from this point. I'll give more information on this point later. Then comes ultimate stress. So this is the maximum point in stress scale on stress strain diagram. Beyond this point, the diagram always falls down. And at some point D, the material gets separated into two parts called fracture point. So what is the importance of point D? Although the material is finished at point C, means it does not take any more load beyond point C, but still we are interested in many cases a point where the material is completely smashed, completely broken into two parts. It's called fracture point. The reason is, the importance of point D is it shows the ductility characteristics of material. So what is the ductility? If you find out the horizontal distance between point C and D, means draw a perpendicular from C on the x-axis, draw a perpendicular from D on x-axis, the distance between these C and D, horizontal distance, look at my cursor, horizontal distance from here to here is called measure of ductility. It is very important property of a material. We will come across this subsequently. Remember how to find ductility from a stress strain diagram. Ductility can be measured simply by measuring horizontal distance between ultimate stress and fracture point. Ductility is the term just opposite to brittleness. A material could be brittle or a material could be ductile. Okay, then from here we go for further classification of the material. A material is perfectly elastic. Look at stress strain diagram is 100% linear. A material is elastic and perfectly plastic. Up to this point, linear, then completely plastic. A material is elastic and plastic with strain hardening. What is strain hardening? I will show you in the next diagram. Remember, strain hardening, instead of behaving after this point 100% plasticity, it goes up making some angle. We call it strain hardening, and this strain hardening zone I will show you in the next diagram, next diagram. Before that, I want to introduce you another material which we very frequently use in textile. It's called elastomer. This is a typical stress strain diagram of elastomeric material. So elastomer means an elastomer is a polymer with viscoelasticity and has very weak intermolecular forces. Generally low Young's modulus and high failure strain. You must have come across lycra yarn. We call it spandex, its commercial name. The material is polyurethane, which is nothing but elastomeric material. It is used in our, all stretchable garment, stretch denim, elastic band, used in your undergarment, wherever we need stretchability of a, so we use coarse spun lycra yarn and the fabric becomes elastic. So such elastic material behaves like this. We call it elastomer, and this is a typical stress strain diagram of the elastomeric material. All what I discussed in previous three diagrams you can see combinedly in this diagram. First, proportional limit, yield point, end of plasticity, strain hardening, then necking, that is ductility, then fracture point. I have explained you all these in previous three diagrams. Proportional limit, 100% linear. Yield point, material starts yielding, means if you deload from this point, the material will not come exactly to its original point. It will follow a different path and it will arrive at a different point. Then plasticity, I have already explained you. Strain hardening means with increasing stress, the strain, look at the material starts raising, means it starts taking load. Strain hardening means it doesn't only extend with resistance. Ultimate stress, fracture point, the distance, horizontal distance between ultimate stress and fracture point is called ductility, denoted by the term called necking zone. You can see here necking. So what is necking? You can see here. This happens in the material under loading because the material is ductile. If it is brittle, then you can't find this kind of behavior during deformation. The material will be simply broken into two pieces without any necking. That means the material is not ductile. But here, since there is a distinct ductility zone, the material undergoes necking and it takes this shape. Okay. Now, few more terminology we need to know. Okay. Here, just I wanted to show you how necking happens when the material is under axial loading. Nothing new term here, but you can see here from importance of yield strength, ultimate strength, breaking strength. I want to define you these 3 points on this diagram. We are concerned with 3 different strength value depending on applications. Yield strength, ultimate strength, breaking strength. Breaking strength means the stress coordinates on the stress strain curve at the point of rupture is called breaking strength. So when we measure breaking strength, it refers to this point. Whereas this is called ultimate strength. So breaking strength is less than ultimate strength. Ultimate strength is the maximum stress a material can withstand. And third one is yield strength. That means the stress beyond which the strain in the material changes from elastic deformation to plastic deformation. And plastic deformation means a permanent deformation. Any deformation which happens plastically will not return back. So plastic deformation is a permanent deformation, means up to beyond this point, if we deload, the load elongation curve will never follow the same path. It will go in a different path and will arrive at a different point. This is how these 3 strength value are different: yield strength, ultimate strength, breaking strength. Breaking strength refers to rupture point, ultimate strength refers to ultimate stress, that is maximum stress point, yield strength refers to yield point. And there is no strength term attached to proportional limit because it is not a strength. Material is fully comfortable. If you deload from this point, the curve will again come back to the same point in the same path. So no permanent deformation in this zone. That's why the stress strain is fully linear in this zone. So we can skip this. You know the definition of stress in physics. Here it is same thing, but I want to make it again clear. Don't take the mistake defining stress means force per unit area. We write the formula force per unit area because the load is distributed over the total cross-sectional area, but it is not force per unit area is called pressure. The stress, as I said, is developed, is generated internal. It's not applied. So the total resistance developed is equal to external load and is known as stress. Okay, so that is how the definition of stress. Strain, when a material is subjected to a load, it is distorted or deformed. If the load is small, the distortion will disappear when the load is removed. And this is how we calculate it. It is simply the deformation per unit length. So what is deformation? Change in dimension. And unit length means divided by the original dimension. So change in dimension divided by original dimension. Then this value is, this is general definition. This strain can come in tensile, bending, shear, compression, in any, wherever, whenever we try to make a deformation to the material And if you can measure what is the amount of deformation taking place, and if you know the original dimension, then obviously you can find out the strain. Then what is modulus? A very simple definition of modulus is what is written in the last sentence. Modulus is simply the resistance to deformation. Just resistance to deformation. So this is the unit in physics, but I am not discussing much on this unit now, because for textile fabric the unit will be little bit different. At that time I will discuss. But remember, modulus means, by definition, very general meaning of modulus is resistance to deformation is called modulus. Higher is the resistance, high is the modulus. Lower is the resistance to deformation, lower is the modulus. Modulus could be a tensile modulus, could be a bending modulus, could be a torsional modulus, could be a compressive modulus, could be a shear modulus, depending on what is the resistance. And resistance also depends on what is the load. If it is tensile load, tensile resistance. If it is flexural load, it is bending resistance. If it is torsion, then it will be torsional resistance. So depending on nature of load, the resistance is happening accordingly. And because of this deformation, the modulus we calculate simply by taking what is the amount of resistance, how much resistance is offered by the material while it is undergoing deformation. That's called the modulus. So this is very conclusive diagram to understand what is the modulus. You take stress strain diagram, and from this, look at this. When you are comparing in the same scale, let's say modulus of 5 different material, you can simply make out which material has a high modulus, which material has low modulus. For example, here very low modulus, very high modulus, and intermediate. Means this material could be called strong but not tough. I have not so far discussed tough. It will come in the next slide. This is strong and tough both. This is not strong, not tough. So a new term has been introduced now, toughness, which will be clear from the next diagram. From modulus, remember, high modulus, medium modulus, low modulus. Any material which has a high modulus is very strong, but it is not a tough material. This is strong and tough both. This is not strong, not tough also. So what is strong and tough? Strong and tough definition will come in the next slide, but here is simply example of 3 different modulus material: high modulus material, medium modulus material, low modulus material. And definition of modulus is simply, it is a stress strain diagram relationship, it's a resistance to deformation, it is material specific, and it is structure specific. I will show you how it is structure specific. There is one diagram to explain you. Remember, there is a difference between material and structure. Polyester, PET, is material. Long molecular chain, after making fiber, it becomes a structure. Taking that fiber, we make spun yarn, is a structure. Taking that yarn, we make a polyester. Polyester, PET, is material. Long molecular chain, after making fiber, it becomes a structure. Taking that fiber, we make spun yarn, is a structure. Taking that fiber, we make spun yarn, is a structure. Taking that fiber, we make spun yarn, is a structure. Taking that yarn, we make plain woven fabric is a structure, or we make a twill woven fabric is another structure. We make a three-dimensional fabric is another structure. Basic material is polyester. So that is the difference between material and structure. And as far as modulus is concerned, if it is necessary to understand what is modulus, modulus has these four characteristics. It is a stress-strain relationship, it is resistance to deformation, it is material specific, and it is structure specific. So an example of structure specific, for example, modulus of a plain woven fabric is different from modulus of a twill woven fabric. Plain woven is a different structure, twill is a different structure, satin is a different structure, honeycomb is a different structure. And each structure, even if the fiber is same, even if the yarn is same, but fabric structure are different, then its modulus will be different. That is what meaning of modulus is structure specific. We can calculate modulus for tensile, compressive, bending, shear, torsion. Okay, now look at this. I told you to explain you what is tough. Tough is different from strong. Strong relates to strength. Tough relates to energy, work of rupture, total work done. Strength relates to force, work done. Energy is half load into elongation, half Fe. Which otherwise called work of rupture, total work done, or material toughness, or total energy absorption capacity of the material. You can give any name to this. Total energy, work done, work of rupture, toughness, these are all one and the same thing, and they are different from the strength of material. Strength is simply load required to break the material. So if that is the definition, then look at the first one. High carbon steel material, it is the strongest material. Strength, compare other three material, strength is at this point, strength relates to a perpendicular on y-axis stress. It is in the highest. Now coming to next, medium carbon steel, it is toughest material, means high energy, high work of rupture, high work done, and as I said, work done is half load elongation, area under the curve. So area under the curve of these medium carbon steel, if you calculate, compared to high carbon steel and low carbon steel, that is area under the curve. Look at my cursor. This area is highest among all three, and this material is toughest material. This is strongest material. This one is most ductile material. You already know what is ductile. If this point becomes in this graph is ultimate stress, after which the material curve goes down. So horizontal distance means from here you plot a perpendicular here and a perpendicular, this is a rupture point here. The distance is indication of ductility. Larger is distance, more is material ductile. This is how we define the strongest material, toughest material, and most ductile material. In this case, strength is high as well as elongation. Here usually strength is high, elongation is less. In this, elongation is highest, strength is lower. It is called ductile material. So this is how we distinguish between strength and toughness. Okay. Now there is another term relating to tensile test is called Poisson's ratio. When, let's say for example, a slender bar subjected to axial loading, the elongation of cross direction is accompanied by a contraction in the other direction, and you know this already. Normally, any material which will be subjected to axial loading, it will elongate in that direction, then it will contract in transverse direction, as you see here. Then we define Poisson's ratio is equal to lateral strain over longitudinal strain. Longitudinal means axial. Lateral strain, the strain in lateral direction, look at my cursor, lateral direction or transverse direction, and strain in longitudinal direction, the direction in which load is applied. So you take any fabric in textile, try to elongate in longitudinal direction, you will find there is a contraction in transverse direction. And I have already defined this, a term you must have remembered. Extension, contraction, lateral strain, longitudinal strain or axial strain. If you take the ratio is called Poisson's ratio. Lateral strain over longitudinal strain. Longitudinal strain is nothing but axial strain, is nothing but longitudinal strain. So it is strain over strain, unitless, Poisson's ratio, lateral strain over longitudinal strain. But we have some extraordinary material which does not follow this general principle, general law of physical science. What is that general law of physical science? As I said, for a conventional or normal material, when the material is subjected to a load, its cross-section area falls but length increases. It happens with all natural or conventional material. You try to elongate in one direction, it will contract or decrease in transverse direction, other direction. But there are some material like here, these two. If you try to extend in axial direction, you will find the material gets bulky, also extend in transverse direction. This phenomena you have already seen in crimp interchange equation. When we extend fabric in one direction, let's say warp direction, the decrimping takes place in warp direction, but the quantity of crimp removed in warp is inserted to the quantity of crimp inserted in transverse direction, in weft direction. And as a result, if the material is a normal material, you will find this phenomena. If the material is an auxetic material, then what happens? When we try to stretch the material in one direction, it also stretched in other direction. And that's called auxetic material. I explained you earlier what is the role of textile structure in modulus. Look at this. This is original filament. You can take any filament, polyester, nylon, etc. And this is its stress strain diagram. Taking the same filament, I made it roving. Roving means multi-filament here. This was just one filament. Now I have, let's say, 100 filament together, parallel. It's called roving, or sometimes the term is used called TOW, T-O-W. TOW, roving, or multi-filament, very coarse count, is called roving yarn. And this is its stress strain diagram. It is the same material which was here in monofilament. Taking the same yarn, I made a fabric, let's say plain woven textile structure. You can clearly see the difference in their loading diagram. It is original filament, multi-filament, and fabric made from multi-filament have three different characteristic stress strain diagram. So you don't forget this. This is important, and we will come across this future. Now we will discuss tensile properties of fabric. Look at this. What I said, modulus is resistance to deformation. This deformation could be tensile, bending, shear, compression, or torsional. We are discussing first tensile modulus. So when we calculate modulus as far as tensile deformation is concerned, the initially we call, in this we have got three different type of modulus. Within tensile, there are three different type of modulus. One is called initial modulus or Young's modulus. Second is called secant modulus. Third is called tangent modulus. So in tensile loading, we have three different type of modulus. First, initial or Young's modulus. Second, secant modulus. Third is tangent modulus. What is initial or Young's modulus? It is better try to understand practically. You take any fabric, carry out tensile test, plot the curve stress strain. Initially you will find to some extent this curve goes straight, means it in this zone it is fully linear. So modulus obtained from this linear zone is called Young's modulus or initial modulus. In a fabric, this initial modulus is used to estimate the hand of the fabric. This will be difficult for you to understand at this stage. Hand you understand, hand feel. When a fabric is coming in contact with our skin, when we are wearing this cloth, what is our perception about the feeling or hand touch of the fabric is determined by a term, it's called fabric hand, which depends on, apart from many other parameters, as far as tensile is concerned, it depends on the initial modulus or Young's modulus, what we are discussing now. So Young's modulus and initial modulus, which is a modulus or resistance to deformation that take place at the beginning of the loading material, is called Young's modulus or initial modulus, and it reflects the fabric hand value. Remember hand value. Hand value means the reaction of a fabric to our tactual perception. Tactual means from touch. It is a perception or sensation given by the skin of the human being, because as you know, skin is one of our sense organ. So when a fabric comes in contact with our skin, the skin has some sensation. The sensation it delivers to the brain, by which we call fabric hand, means we perceive what will be the feel of the cloth. And that feel, which is called hand value technically in textile, is primarily related to the Young's modulus of the fabric. Okay. And there is a logic also. It's a long chapter, but not in your syllabus. But remember this. Then comes second modulus. Stress is proportional to strain within the proportionality limit. Thus, Young's modulus holds good here. This you know, very simple. After this limit, Young's modulus does not hold good, means it is no more linear. Then we talk about tangent modulus and second modulus. That means up to this point, look at my cursor, it is all about initial modulus or Young's modulus. Beyond this, the curve changes its path, and very complicated path, sometimes exponentially increasing then decreasing, sometimes brittle, sometimes goes like this, sometimes create ultimate stress, then sometimes from ultimate stress to fracture point is too long, and there is a large variation in its path. So if you want to calculate modulus, means resistance to deformation of the material at different stages beyond this point, beyond initial modulus, up to here it is initial modulus or Young's modulus. But if the material gives different resistance to deformation at different point of time beyond this point, then two more definition comes in. That's called tangent modulus and second modulus. So what is the significance of tangent and second modulus? Tangent modulus is the slope of the tangent to any point in the inelastic region. Remember, any zone on load elongation or stress strain diagram which is not elastic, elastic is up to this point as long as it is linear, after that inelastic. So tangent modulus is the slope of the tangent to any point in the inelastic region, whereas second modulus is the slope of the line joining any point in the inelastic region to the origin. Inelastic region to the origin. This is called second modulus. This is how we have three different type of modulus: initial modulus, tangent modulus, and second modulus. And these three different modulus has a different application. When it will come in actual, while discussing this subject, I will come back again. Remember these three basic fundamental terms relating to modulus. Initially I said what is modulus, then I said what are different type of modulus, and also you know example of a different modulus, that is high modulus, toughest, low modulus, here high modulus, medium modulus, low modulus, and now we discussed what are the initial modulus, tangent modulus, and second modulus. So try to see this diagram. Now whatever fundamental we have discussed in relation to tensile loading, that we will now apply in our woven fabric. You must have, I do not know whether you have done this practical or not so far in tensile textile testing subject. Initially, this is a fabric sample we caught from a fabric, maybe in warp direction or wave direction. Then we fix it in a tensile testing equipment. So this is the jaw, this is another jaw. So from here to here or from here to here is called the gauge length. Gauge length, that is length of the sample we are testing. And this fabric has a particular width. It is given a tensile load. When the material is loaded axially, which we call tensile test, what happens during its breaking? You can see first the material contracts in transverse direction. The load is in, let's say, warp, so now it will contract in wave direction. I have already discussed this point in crimp interchange equation. This happens because when we load the material in warp direction, then the warp yarns get straightened. Straightened means decrimped, means crimp is removed. At the same time, what we will find, the yarn in the transverse direction, which is called weft yarn, they will be contracting, means the crimp will increase in this direction. And at some point, the fabric will break when it is given more load. Okay, this is how we call it. The phenomena which takes place here is called wasting effect. Means if the material is loaded in warp direction, it contracts in wave direction. It is because of decrimping, because when we apply load in warp direction, warp yarn is called decrimped, and the similar amount of crimp is inserted in transverse direction. That means weft yarn gets upcrimped, means insertion of crimp, and at some point they will break. Okay, so from here we close it. From the next class we will discuss fabric assistance in this concept, and then we will proceed further to understand the mechanics of the fabric. So I close it here. You may log out.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.